All right, so welcome to this week's Lockbox Lunatics episode. I'm Chad Kamp here in Chandler, Arizona, with my trusted cohort in Kennewick, Washington, Mr. Steve Lambert. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How about you, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain. I had a good day so far.
So I understand. I understand. We're having a good day too because I think we have like third or fourth day in a row of sun.
Okay.
We're in the 80s now, so I'm very, very happy about that. I'm a little more casual today because I've been running around doing a lot of random Friday broker, owner, realtor stuff, and so it's kind of one of those days because, as you know, we wear a lot of hats. We wear a lot of
Right,
hats.
right.
But it's interesting, and you kind of touched on this a little bit early on. We're going to just kind of jump right in today because we were talking about what we do every day. So, me running around doing things this morning, you running around and doing broker owner things. We run across a lot of people in a lot of different situations, which means there's a lot of opportunities. And you
Yes.
had a great example of an opportunity that you have, looks like you're converting into some business. Why don't you share a little bit about what you did and how you did that?
Yeah, so it was just, we upgraded our bathroom probably in 2022, and the valve, went bad in the shower valve, the
Yeah,
cartridge. So I called in because it's a lifetime warranty. Why would I want to do the work if I've already paid for it? So
right.
the vendor gets out, the worker, he repairs it. I'm walking into the door, and I have a pile of mailers that's getting ready to go to mail, and I'm just pre-addressing them. These are the mailers. And I grab one and I set it by the front door when he's there. I'm like, I'm just going to offer it to him since I'm giving them out anyway. So I walk him to the front door. He tells me about the repair, what had happened. And so I grabbed this. Hey, look, I'm sending these out to my clients. Would like to offer one to you. If you were to buy or sell a house, do you have an agent that you would refer or that you would use? And he just stopped for like 15 seconds, dead silence. And he said, you know what, Chad? My mother's in hospice. We're just waiting for her to pass, and I'm going to be inheriting her house, and I don't want it. And my wife and I were just talking last week. We don't know what to do to sell the house, and I don't know anybody.
Oh, wow.
So he said, "Yeah, I'll definitely take that." So, and now we had already walked out. We're on the front patio, and I said, "Well, you have a couple minutes. I can kind of talk you through a little, educate a little bit about the process." He walks back into the house. We go sit down at the kitchen table. And we just started talking a little bit about the process. Maybe spent 10 minutes just kind of educating a little bit on that front. And I gathered three pieces of important information from him. His phone number, his email address, and his home address. Right.
Perfect.
And that opportunity, if I would have just kept my mouth shut and
Mhm.
said, thank you for coming servicing my house. Have a great day. Hope to not see you again. I would not have had that opportunity to learn that he didn't have an agent that would represent him, nor would I have learned his circumstances. So
Exactly.
part of the 10, 15 minutes that we sat at the table, I was just consoling him, saying, hey man, I lost my mother as well. And so I know what you're going through, and I know what you're going to be looking at once she passes. And we just kind of talked a little bit about the goings on around that and the emotional aspect of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild? It's so funny because you asked, you talk about asking the right questions, right? Like you said, so many times we have somebody working in our house, as soon as they're done, hey, thanks, see you later, bye, right?
Right.
Versus just saying, hey, I have something of value that I'm going to be sending out. Might as well let this guy know, which is one, there's one, a lot of different things happen in this. You did so many things right in this. And here's the part that I love is that one, you were sharing what you do with somebody who works in a business that is going in and out of people's houses all day long for plumbing needs. And generally, when somebody's looking to remodel, they're either going to stay in their house for a long time or they're prepping it to put on the market. What a great person that you want that person in your sphere because that's somebody that could, introduce you to future clients down the road. But not only that, now, like you said, then you asked his personal and learned about his personal circumstances, and you're learning how you can best serve that person and help them actually eliminate a problem at a very stressful time in their life, right? They're going to be a loved one is obviously having critical health issues, and that's a stressful time. They're going to be dealing with planning for the estate, a funeral and all these things, and you're going to be able to sit there and help them walk through one of the more stressful sides of it, and which is happens to be a massive real estate transaction that they're having to deal with, and getting them in touch with the right people, whether it's an estate attorney or planning this and that tax people. There's a lot of implications that come with selling it. And you're able to check all these boxes for them, all because you decided to not just wish them a good day and see them out of the house, to sit there and say, "Hey, can I give this to you?" And then you asked them a simple question. And I love that.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I think a lot of new agents are afraid to do. And
Yes.
honestly, it was one of those things where, it was early in the morning. I think he showed up at the house at 7:25, 7:30.
Yeah.
I just had a t-shirt and a ball cap on. I wasn't ready for my day. Didn't even have a cup of coffee yet. Actually I made a coffee while, a cup while he was doing the shower. And and I just, I saw the newsletter sitting there and I said, you know what? He's here. I've got some extras. Let's just see if he'll go ahead and take one. I'll offer it to him and go from there. And it just goes to show you never know when opportunity is going to present itself. And if I would have stayed silent, that opportunity would have walked right on by me. I would have
Oh, yeah.
never known. And so it's imperative that newer agents and even the seasoned agents, we get into our routines and we don't think about, I did a presentation 2 weeks ago, Fidelity Sales Academy, and I made a comment about, in real estate, we got to be out shaking hands and kissing babies,
It's
right?
so true, though. It's so true. Because
And
part of what we do every day is not sitting in the office. We're not a traditional setup like a lot of industries. If you're sitting in the office 9 to 5 in a real estate office, I'm telling you, you're looking at an agent that's about to go out of business very, very quickly. So we're engaged in the community all day long. And if you're engaged in the community all day long, you're doing a disservice not only to the people you're working with, but to your own business by not telling people what you do and reminding them of how you can help them in various situations and introducing yourself constantly to new people. That's what we do. We connect.
yeah,
And the fun part, here's what I love about that. Some people might go, "Oh, well, that sounds really salesy. You're constantly telling people what you do. You're blah, blah, blah. It's all about you." No, it's about learning people in my community because I can't tell you how many times I connect people where I get no benefit from it because I go, "Oh, I know Joe over here is looking for this guy, and this guy actually does that. I'm going to introduce them to each other because they have something that they can help each other with." I do that all day long. We're super connectors, or at least the
yeah,
goal, in my opinion, to be a successful agent, you need to be a super connector. And I love that you kind of hit on that because new agents, we hear how much of the time, "Hey, Chad, where should I buy my leads? Hey, Chad, where do I get the best leads from? Hey, Chad, what do I do all day long?" Well,
right.
you
You
know,
and these newer agents, they see everybody on social media and they get so distracted and they think that they've got to just, increase their presence on social media. Now, don't get me wrong, you'll see me on social media and I do ads and I do videos and things of that nature, but they get so fixated on that. And they
yeah,
forget I've been in the business for 20, 40 years. So I've got a database and I'm trying multiple mediums to stay in front of to be able
hmm
to remind them, hey, look, don't forget when it comes time to sell, give me a call. I'm still here in the business
yep,
because whenever you have 80% of the people that get licensed be out of the business in the first 5 years,
yeah,
that longevity, most people are not expecting agents to be in the business as long as you and I have been. And so
yeah, yeah.
we have to keep reminding them, hey, we're still in business. We didn't fall by the wayside. The business didn't chew us up and spit us out. I mean, it might have chewed us up and tried spitting us out, but we grabbed her on the neck and hung in there, right? Because there's been times where it's been tough.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
but
social media, when you look at statistically, and I'm not going to quote the numbers right now. I have an inkling, but I don't want to give out that information. I'll have to go back and double check it. But the amount of people that close deals off of leads from social media is so minimal compared to the number of deals that you close within your sphere. It's not, I mean, it is so far apart, so far
yeah,
apart. So focusing on the social media, I do a little bit of that as well because I think it's just more like a brand awareness type thing. I look at that as a brand awareness. I'm not looking, I really don't intend or plan on seeing much ROI out of that outside of people going, "Oh, I've heard of them." That's really all it's for, in my
right.
opinion. Where I make my make my dollars and cents, if you will, is by shaking hands and connecting and talking to people and different things that I do all day long, whether it's running to Home Depot or going out to the golf course or going to a restaurant or grabbing coffee or taking, cookies over to somebody. I'm looking to connect with people on the daily, and those are the people that absolutely fill my pipeline constantly. And I feel very fortunate to be in that spot. I mean, I advertise here and there, but I don't really need to because, like you built, people know Chad and they know who you are and they know what you do. Now, are we always looking for new clients? 100%. Do I'm
Oh
trying to
yeah.
grab new people all the time? Sure. But when I talk to newer agents and they say that, I'm like, your biggest thing is building your sphere. And it's interesting because I have a couple agents that are newer, and it's not that it wasn't that obvious to them, and I know that because they're a little newer in the business, obviously, and that. But I was a little surprised, I guess, by that I thought they would recognize a little bit more. But then the next follow-up question is like, well, where do I go and what do I say, right?
Right. Right.
So when I look at that, I'm like, well, churches, schools, community events, clubs, a hobby, a sport you
Yep.
like to do. Like
Yep.
I play a lot of golf, you know this, but everybody I golf with knows that Steve does real estate, and I can't tell you how many referrals I get on the golf course. It's
Oh yeah.
ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And so find something that you love to do and then talk to people. But I think that's the big thing is, and I don't know if you find this, is a lot of newer agents too are saying, well, how do I talk to people? How do I introduce myself? What do I say? So what
Right.
kind of advice would you give? I'm a new agent, Chad. And I'm saying, well, Chad, who do I talk to? What do I say? What kind of advice or guidance would you give me on that?
Right. So if you're a brand new agent, no one knows that you're in real estate. And I think the first thing you need to do is start qualifying folks, right? So
Yeah.
what I typically do is out the newer agents that come on board, you'll be surprised who will do business with you, and they'll be just as surprised at people who won't do business with them.
Yeah, right, right.
And so the most important thing for any agent to do is to find out and qualify that person. Do you already know somebody? Do you already have someone that's trusted that's going to help you with any real estate transactions? If not, I'd like to be that person. And that's
Yeah.
it's as simple as that, right? And so
Hmm.
and then if the answer is yes, basically the response is okay, that's great. We all have to have our trusted sources. If that ever changes, please keep me in mind. If
Yeah.
they say no, then that opens the door. Then you can start moving along a little bit further and you say, okay, hey, look, that's great. I'd love to be that person for you. I send information out via email or for mail. What's the best method for me to be able to get this information to you?
Yeah.
Would you mind receiving that? I had a new agent, in the office this week, and she had sent a mailer out to a person, a prospect that she'd called, and they talked about what was in the mailing. I think it had to do with property taxes.
Oh,
And
okay.
I had her ask him, try and get an email address for her. You've got her phone number, you know her address, try and get an email address. Well, she
Yeah.
asked for the email address, and the lady told her no. And so she was discouraged by that. I said, okay,
Oh,
I get that, but you know what? You sent a mailing to her, and it enough to reach out to you saying, hey, I want to talk about this. Okay. So just because you only have two-thirds of the information you want, continue to
yeah.
try and get that email from her. So
Yep.
you can include her on those, email newsletters. But don't take that as a loss. Your mailing evoked a phone call, evoked a response and a conversation, sparked a conversation. So
Which
now,
is huge, by the way. That's
oh,
big. That's a big deal.
it is. It is. And so I think from a newer agent perspective, just don't be afraid to talk to folks and let them know. I mean, the best way that
Oh,
to
yeah.
do that, the best way to do that is ask someone what they do for a living, right?
Oh, they love, yeah, because they love to do that. Well, even in that situation too, maybe that's a person, because I had a couple that I met at an open house, right? And they said, hey, we're thinking of selling, and they didn't give me their email, and it turns out they weren't comfortable with that. But what I did do is I did have their address. As I followed up a week later, I just stopped by their door and I just knocked and I said, hey, I have some updated information about the market for you. I just wanted to drop it off personally. I know you're not a big fan of email, and I don't want to blow you up or whatever. So for her, like you said, they called back on this advertisement. The fact that they did that is massive. That's a huge signal. That is a big, big deal. So maybe for her, she has carte blanche to call them back. They clearly want to communicate, right? And so
Right.
maybe, hey, she could disregard the email even at this point, right? And just start saying, hey, I'd like to meet with you. Let's grab a cup of coffee. I'll bring it to your house. Maybe some cookies or tea or something, whatever they're into, right? Um,
Right.
So, but that's cool. So yeah, that agent should not even be close to being discouraged. Are you kidding? I'd be doing somersaults if I had somebody call back off of mailer. That's very rare, even though
It is.
mailers, direct mail is still the most effective way to reach people in real estate, which is like a lot of people don't understand that. Good old fashioned send a letter, right? People want to connect.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I love that. That's really yeah, nothing to be discouraged about in that one. I
Oh,
mean,
definitely,
that's a
definitely.
huge one, right? That's awesome. That's a great turnaround. And then what I find too, once we're seasoned vets, is that we kind agents, I'll call them, seasoned veteran agents, I guess, is that we have a tendency to kind of get stuck in like our rote. We do the same thing every day. And we kind of go through that. And I kind of looked at my own processes this last year, and I'm going to a lot of new places that I didn't last year because I realized I needed to continue to grow my sphere. One of the trainers, Buffini, was really big into that, and he still is that he's like, hey, build your sphere. That's all the advertising you ever need to do. He's like, show me an agent that has 100 people that are quality people in their sphere, and I know an agent that has an incredible career, right? And
Right.
I would agree with that 100%. People are like, oh, I got to slam my CRM. I only have 5 names. I need 5,000, don't I? No, actually, start with that five and find out who they know and build another three or four off of that. Go meet some more
Right.
people, build another three or four off that. 50 quality people is massive, right? Versus
Oh,
just
it
big
is.
names. So the quality of the interactions are a big deal. And again, I'm going to tie back into what you did, which is you really sat down and found out what this gentleman's situation was. And he felt comfortable sharing that with you, right? And then you took it a step further and sat down with him and connected on that during a very difficult time. And I think that's the big part, right? You had the presence of mind to connect on something and you found a similarity in that, right? I think that's where thinking on your feet a little bit, it's a big deal.
Yeah, that's one thing whenever you're talking to folks, always try and find some commonality that you
Mhm.
can camp on, right?
Yeah.
And so,
You said camp on. Sorry. No
right.
pun intended.
No
Mr.
pun
Chad
intended.
Camp.
Mr. Chad Kemp. Yeah, no, so I mean, I think it's extremely important that you try and find common strings, to where
Mhm.
you can point to and say, hey, I've been there, I know somebody, I've got a gentleman, I've got a prospective seller coming on the market that owned a antique store, and I know somebody who likes to dabble in antiques glass. So
Oh,
I was able to put them two together. He went
oh
over there,
yeah.
went through some of her things because she had a yard sale, picked up a couple pieces. He's going to make some money off of it because that's what he does. He buys it and then will resell it, you know.
Yeah.
And I was able to help her to get some of her inventory because she had a antique shop that went out of business during COVID, and everything just got moved into her garage. And just if this is a large 6-car garage, just
Oh wow.
packed full of stuff.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, and she's been
Hidden
working
treasures.
she's been working on this for 3 months trying to get rid of
Uh,
everything. She had probably a month's worth of yard sales, and she made like 7 grand off the yard sales over that time period. And then I just spoke with her the other day, and she's just going to be sending it over to her daughter's house because her daughter's going to have an estate sale because she's going to be moving apparently as well.
oh, okay.
But yeah, it's connecting people, getting to know what other people like, and then finding other people that have similar interest and being the person to connect the two.
Yeah, I love that. That's your new marketing campaign, by the way. I want you to do a postcard that just says camp on with an exclamation point, spelled the way you spell your last name with a K.
Right, right.
And then on the back, I want you to create a description that says, what is camp on? Whether you're looking to buy, invest, sell real estate, put camp on it.
Oh, that's good.
There you
I
go,
like that.
folks. That what you just saw there was a little bit of marketing gold that came about
That
because of this
was
conversation, which again ties into opportunities. There's
right.
opportunities all around, right? We talk, and a big thing I'm going to kind of, as we kind of wind down on this a little bit, is encouraging agents to think about opportunity is not always obvious. Opportunity exists all day long around us, though, and it's our mindset that allows us to either see it or not see it. And I
Right.
think sometimes we get so laser focused on what we're doing that we forget to stay open to the opportunities that present themselves around us, right? Sometimes it's just taking a step back to just slow down a little bit. But like you said, I love what you said, asking people, well, what do you do? What are the things that, how do you entertain? Where do you work? What are things that do you do any sports or recreate? Learning about them because that's when they really connect with you, right? And allowing that connection to happen. And a lot of times it means just taking a step back, which in our business is hard because we are like go, go, go. I mean, you and I have been talking all this week trying to connect to figure out like how are we going to get our podcast dialed in this week, right? And you're like, oh, I'm slammed. I'm like, I'm slammed. And when you're we have a lot going on, and that's a great place to be. But taking the time every week for you and I to block this out and connect on the podcast is like, this is one of my fun times of the week, right? This is a great
Oh,
time
yeah.
because we have a blast being able to do this. We obviously want more people to like and subscribe. That would be
Right.
good. But in the meantime, though, but we have a lot of fun doing this because it's something that I think is a constant learning experience for me, and I hope for you as well, because you say you come up with ideas, I come up with ideas, and we're sharing them with each other. We're taking that time to connect and figure out ways to be better at what we do, and hopefully impart that upon other people as well. And I think that's really cool, and I think that that connection is just a huge part of it. And like you said, it was funny when you said that. You're like opportunities. It's all about opportunities, and they
That,
present
right.
themselves all day long. You know?
And sometimes you have to find the opportunities.
Yeah.
A lot of folks think, hey, I've got the realtor, trademark after my name. People should just come to me because just simply due to the fact that
Right.
I'm a licensed agent. No, you have to go seek that out. You have to go mine it. You have to, and I like and this is, kind of my roots coming out, but I like in, real estate is to farming, right?
Hmm.
You got to plant the seeds. Well, first off, you got to prepare the field. You got to plant the seeds. Then you got to tend the seeds. You got to water it, and it's a long process. And then the law of sowing and reaping, you will sow, with what you reap.
Yes.
If you just sit there and all you do is sit and talk about trying to get business and not actively seeking it, you're never going to find it. But I was talking to this newer agent and I said, "Do you feel like you're just spinning your wheels, don't you?" She said, "Yeah, I just feel like I'm spinning your wheels." I said, "But let me ask this. If you weren't spinning your wheels, would you ever gain traction?"
I
And,
like that.
and she's like, "No, I wouldn't." I said, right.
That is sage advice right there, folks. That
Yeah.
is coming from somebody that's seen a lot and done a lot, right? That's the experience and that's where opportunities exist with incredible designated brokers and mentors, right? Like they
Right.
exist because you can learn. That's great. I mean, I love the way you say that because she's probably feeling super frustrated. And like you said, sometimes you got to spin the wheels in the right spots and wait for, and then eventually, at some point it will kick in and give you some traction.
No, it will. It
That's
will.
awesome, man. Right on. Well, this has been great, man. This has been a good one. I
So
like
one of the
this.
errands I did today too that I was going to bring up is
Yeah.
I've got a lockbox here. Since we're on Lockbox Lunatics, this
Yes.
this lockbox here is turning me into a lunatic. It does not work. So
Uh,
I grabbed this to take onto a new listing. I show up, got the keys, and I'm ready to throw it on. Doesn't work. I can't get the keys in there.
oh, geez.
I've got I came back and grabbed another lockbox. I'll replace it with, but I've got to get this over to the local board to have it swapped out so I can get one that's in working
Get
order.
another one in there. Oh, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Present an opportunity. Who knows what you're going to run into at the local board? Who knows who you're going to
exactly,
meet? I like it.
exactly.
Right
So,
on.
all right. Well, thank you to those that took the time to listen. Hopefully, you picked up a little bit of information, a little nugget in there to help encourage you with your real estate transactions or real estate sales, in your
Yeah.
career. If you would like and share and comment below, let us know what you typically do to try and get yourself out of a rut or how to create opportunities for yourself
Yeah.
as well. And share this with anyone that you feel that would get a benefit out of this. Otherwise, we'll catch up with you folks next week. Take care and have a great day.
Awesome. See you, Chad. Thank you.